There's misinformation that like women were considered like property up to a point, right? Or they couldn't own businesses, or they couldn't have their own money. They were basically that at the the beck and call, and like basically just house slaves of their husbands. And the fact of the matter is as far back as like the mid 1700s up in through the 1800s, there were what were called coverture laws. And what coverture laws were was a woman who was not married could own money, could own land, could own business, could inherit it from her family. Like if she had this as part of her inheritance because her father had started the business and now she takes over, as long as she wasn't married. So when she got married, all of that went over to the husband, not because it was some sort of tyrannical thing, it's because of what you just said. The husband was responsible in every aspect for the children and for the wife. So what that meant was the reason why they had coverture laws is because if that woman had land or she had that business and she was married and she ran that business into the ground, or she killed somebody, or their children ended up being criminals or whatever, it was the husband and the father who was responsible for all of that. That's why today when we see some kid that goes in commits suicide or has a drug problem or is in some way criminality or something like that, we don't go, where's the mother? We go, where's the father? Because we're still thinking, well, who's the authority? Well, that's because coverture laws back at the time, it meant that women could still do that as long as they remained unmarried. So it was on her if the business failed. It was on her if the land was not used in a way that she would have liked to have been used, right? So the thing is back then for women, if they wanted more agency, if they wanted more power, they could remain unmarried and have all of that. The thing is now today, we have coverture laws, but they're for men. You have more maneuverability and more power outside of marriage in the same effect than you do inside of marriage, because what happens is all of the responsibility for still maintaining the family and everything, that's all still there. But if there's a divorce in there, then she's going to be entitled to half of that or whatever the assets are. And we've talked about this with James Sexton. I really wish we could have got James Sexton for this panel, but essentially, the coverture laws have been reversed in the 21st century, meaning that men have more maneuverability outside of marriage than they do inside of marriage.